Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well. It's been warm and not quite scorching hot, but close to it. We've actually had a fairly mild summer this year so far. I don't want to jinx it, but we've only had a couple of days of temperatures over 100 Fahrenheit. And it's looking like we're going to be, well, today is looking at 97 degrees, which is, I think I put it in the chat already. It's like, oh, come on here. Yeah, looking at 36 Celsius today, and this is going to be the hottest day of the week. Well, for the next 10-day forecast. So it's been pretty mild, and we've been pretty lucky with fires this year. There are a couple of, one is fairly large, but it's quite a ways away from us. And there's been a couple of small brush fires, grass fires around here, but that's nothing got us in danger anyway. The air quality's been kind of but that happens in the summertime. I guess the big news is behind me over here. You can see I got dust collection plumbed in, and I got a couple of cables run there. I've got the dust collector. It's all hooked up. It's mounted. It's running and controlled by the computer on the CNC, which you can't see. Uh, the black cable over there is the power running out of that outlet that's kind of set back behind the pipe. It's running from that outlet on which is on a separate circuit down into the control box, and then the orange cable is running up into the dust collector itself. And I've got the dust collector is being run through the control box on a relay. The I can either hit a button manually on the Mach 4, or I have it set to where it's turned on automatically by G-code. And a couple of people have asked about this, and I'll go into this in depth in a separate video, which I'm in the process of recording now. The G-code put out, Steve, there is a wire guard on that floor wire. You just can't see it. It's about 2.5 to 3 inches wide. One of those sloped up and rounded off at the top, rubber ones. That's split along the bottom. You tuck the cord in there, and you got some wide PVC tape that comes with it that you tape along the bottom. It's 5 feet long. It ends about 8 inches under the CNC table, and it goes from that base molding that you see there and runs all the way underneath, and then the cable is zip tied to the other power cable. So as I was saying, the post processor puts out the code to turn on the dust collector before the spindle turns on, and the spindle controller has a dwell built into it that when the spindle comes on, it gives it enough time to spin up to RPM, and then it lets the G code progress. So the dust collector and the spindle will both be up to speed before it starts cutting anything. And then the M9 code that shuts off both relays down here in the control box, that's the last, well, it's the second to the last command in the G code. So the bit will retract and move back over to the home position. And then it gives the M9 command to shut off both relays. And I've timed it. And that is depending upon where the bit is when it lifts up. That's anywhere from 11 to 13 seconds after the bit retracts and is no longer creating chips. And that gives the dust collector enough time to clear the hose before the M9 command kicks in and shuts off the dust collector. So it's a great system. It's working out perfect for me. And I still have that one switch, that one button in Mach 4. I can turn it back on manually, vacuum off the table, put the hose back on the dust shoe, and then shut it off. So it's it's been a process to learn it. More details later on it. I learned a lot. Let me give you one tip. One of the biggest things that I learned is if you're reading a manual to figure out anything actually, and you're looking for certain specific information, when you have found that information, keep reading, because there may be other information a little bit further that can save you a lot of time. Without being any spoilers here, I could have saved myself about 4.5 hours of work and a little bit of butting my head against a wall if I'd have just read the next paragraph, about 3 lines into the next paragraph in that manual. So just when you found the information that you think you need, keep reading, because you might find something that'll save you a lot of heartache. Okay. So, and I'll get further into that later on down the road when I do the video on all of this. So it's almost 100% now. I am, and this is going to start some controversy here. Excuse me. But I am going to ground all of the plastic. I've got some flex hose here, obviously. You can't really see it in this shot. Let me lift up here. It runs up to galvanized steel duct pipe. And then there's a small piece of flex right there to hook up the to this pipe here. And then going through the wall here, that is flex that hooks into the the dust deputy cyclone. And all of that vinyl will be grounded. Now, I'm not grounding it because I'm concerned about explosions or fires or anything like that. I'm grounding it because I'm concerned about crosstalk or arcing from static electricity buildup, cross-talking or arcing into a cable, either for the spindle, that one little cable you can see coming out of the drag chain there, that's the main power cable for the spindle. Then there are other cables over here for the motor cables. You can see one connection right there. That's for the X-axis motor. And then you can't see it. There's a proximity switch right there, which is a homing and limit switch for the X-axis. I'm concerned with arcing or crosstalk, static bleeding into those lines, and either shutting everything down, or frying electronics, or causing missteps. If you've spent any time in various CNC forums or Facebook groups at all, you will hear of people having an issue with all of a sudden the G code just stopped running, and my router is sitting there spinning and nothing's happening. A good percentage of the time they do have dust collection, and a good percentage of those dust collectors, any plastic or vinyl pipe or flex hose is not grounded, and they're getting that interference. So no, it's not possible to ground plastic. Plastic is non-conductive. Okay. The thing that you're doing is you're giving you're not allowing that static to build up. It dissipates. It's kind of sort of like if you stand in a carpeted room in your house with socks on and you rub your feet vigorously back and forth on that carpet, and then you touch a doorknob, you're going to get a little zap of that static electricity that's built up. But if you hold that doorknob and shuffle your feet back and forth real vigorously, let go and touch it again, that static has not built up. It's dissipated. So you're not going to get that zap. Well, it's the same thing with this. So I'm not concerned about explosions or fire or anything like that. I think the odds are very much against that happening. I'm not going to say it's not possible because anything is possible, but the circumstances have to be basically perfect to get a dust explosion in a home shop environment. And I don't know that I could create that kind of an environment, but I don't believe in slapping fate in the face, so I'll knock on wood just for, so I don't jinx myself. Sargon asked earlier if, let's see, let me get back up here and find it. Where is it at? Okay. Is that enough power for both air compressor and dust collector? It's a 20 amp circuit, and the dust collector pulls about 12 amps. I don't know what the compressor pulls, but I don't use them both often enough for it to be a factor, I don't think. Because if I've got the dust collector running, I'm probably not doing anything with the compressor. And if I've got the compressor running, I'm probably not doing anything with the dust collector. Having said that, I really don't know if that's enough power to run both. If the compressor first kicks on, probably not. Or if the dust collector is starting when it's pulling its max amperage and the compressor kicks on, probably not. There would probably be a big surge there. Not much over 20, but enough to possibly trip a breaker. But I've got four walls, obviously, but I've also got 4 circuits. Each wall is on its own circuit, with the exception of that one right there. That is on the same circuit as the back wall. And the only thing running on the back wall circuit is the CNC router, the controller. The spindle is on 240 volt, and if you look right there, you can just see where the spindle is plugged into the 240 volt outlet, 20 amp. And so originally I had set this up to where that outlet there was going to run a dedicated rotary axis machine. So I put that on the back wall because the Gatton CNC was being run off of this circuit over here on this wall. So the back wall was pretty much blank. But I went with overkill when it came to adding outlets. And so, see, Steve says the easiest way to ground that is to make sure the wire and the hose is grounded to the metal tubing. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to run a ground bare, I believe it's 22 gauge braided copper from this end here up to where it connects to the galvanized. And then another small jumper right there where that vinyl flex is. And then another jumper from this elbow here. And that'll run in and up and ground to the motor on the dust collector itself. I thought about wrapping it, but I think I'm going to go inside. It's easier to install, but I don't know yet. I'm not sure, Bill. I haven't made up my mind. So, all right, let's get into some of your questions. You have them here. But first, I wanted to give Steve a shout out. Steve Nealon, Harneal Media, the sponsor of MarkLindsayCNC.com. I'm telling you guys, if you are thinking about a website, uh, building a web presence or increasing your web presence, you want to start a web store to sell your products, sell your services, sell your files, sell merch, develop merch, baseball caps, t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, whatever. Hook up with Steve at Harneal Media. There's a link to Harneal Media in every one of my videos on this channel. He's a good guy. I'm proud to call him a friend, and he is the only web host that I will recommend. He's very competitively priced. He knows what he's doing, and he's good at it. So thank you, Steve. Let's get into your questions here. Jim Brown says, having trouble with the tapered ball nose inlay, male too big or female too small. When it comes to using a tapered ball nose bit for inlays, I have seen other people do it. I have heard of other people doing it. The problem that people have is it depends on the diameter of that ball nose, the tip. And look at it closely because some ball nose bits are listed by their diameter while some are listed by their radius. And you need a tiny, tiny, tiny tip diameter to use a tapered ball nose bit instead of a V bit. Because what happens is you're getting the nice sharp corners on your male because it's an outside cut, but you're not getting those sharp corners on the female. That inside cut has a radius because that tapered ball nose has a radius. There is a gentleman that I refer everyone to when it comes to inlays, and his name is Stephen Forsai. And he runs a tidy little YouTube channel. I have a video pulled up and a link already set up. As soon as we're done live here, I will put a link to his video on creating deep V-carve inlays. And he uses tapered ball nose bits. So it's probably the absolute best presentation that I've ever seen on doing deeper inlays. And these inlays, if you watch the Vectric tutorials, they go with a very thin male plug to go into that female inlay, where Stephen uses a much thicker one to avoid that hollow sound. If you do an inlay on a cutting board and then tap a knife over that inlay, it sounds a bit hollow. Well, his inlay males are pretty thick, up to a ½ inch or roughly 12 millimeters. So if I were going to do an inlay video, and I will down the road, if I were going to do an inlay video, I would do it exactly like the one that I will link in the description as soon as we're finished live here. His name again is Stephen Forsai, and he has a criminally low subscriber count. He's only got 5,000 subscribers and 42 videos, but the work he does is brilliant. And again, I'll link that video as soon as we're finished here. The video in question is called Deep Inlays Using Vectric V-carve. And he has figured out a system to get your V-carving inlays to go in steps and not just try to plunge down and cut the entire thing all at once, as is a problem. So a couple of people asking, Steve says, use the wire that's already in the hose. Russell says, why not use the wire in the hose? One simple reason: that's not metal wire, it's plastic. So there's nothing conductive in that hose. So I'll go with braided copper. So, and it's not expensive. I mean, I just don't have enough to do it on hand. I had some, can't find it. Don't know where it went. So I got to go get more braided copper. So, Jim, I'm sorry I'm not able to help you directly, but I hope that gives you a place to go, a direction to go. There's some things to really watch out for if you're going to be using a tapered ball nose bit for inlays versus a V bit. So, the Phoenician Artisan. If you're not following the Phoenician Artisan over on Instagram, number one, shame on you. Number two, get over there and do that. The Phoenician Artisan. He's got some brilliant, brilliant stuff over there. Awesome work. Just totally awesome work. Let's see. Could you comment on the difference when using an upcut versus downcut ball nose for 3D carving? When it comes to 3D carving, that's kind of difficult to, well, it's going to depend on if you run a roughing pass or not. If you run a roughing tool path, then depending upon your offset when you do that roughing, you should be removing most of the material and just leaving a skin for the tapered ball nose to come back and clean up when it does the finishing tool path. In that case, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, because it does depend on the thickness, the height of your model, and how steep some of the side walls are. But for most 3D carves, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't make a difference. Upcut is going to leave a smoother, better bottom finish in any flat areas down in the 3D model. It's going to leave a smoother finish because it's throwing the chips out. They're not getting in the way. And a downcut is going to leave a smoother outside edge. But then again, if you're running a roughing, okay, you say you will be running a roughing pass before the final finish pass, but, and I'll wait for the but, it really shouldn't matter. Um, I hate to say it, and I hesitate to say it, but try both in scrap and see which one you prefer. A lot of this is subjective. There have been times that I have run, not necessarily a mistake, but just to see what it would look like. I've run at odd angles across material. A couple of my videos, you'll see that I have 40 degrees. I came up with 40 degrees because that produces an interesting texture with the step over that I was using on that particular model. It's a very fine texture that on certain woods almost looks like sandblasting. It's really cool. It's not a smooth texture, but it's not an aggressively rough texture either. It's just kind of a grainy texture that looks really cool. And I like it, so I have remembered that for other projects. And so far, it's worked pretty well. I'll do I don't know why it does it. It's why I haven't done a video on it, but I will talk about it in the next video that, is relevant to it. But upcut and downcut after a roughing tool path, about the only difference is going to be the surface texture, because again, an upcut bit's going to leave a smoother bottom on any flat surfaces. Hard to tell on anything where the Z is moving. If you've got, like if you're doing a terrain map, you probably will not notice a difference between an upcut and a downcut. So it's totally up to you if you're running a roughing pass. If you're not running a roughing pass, then the same rules apply as if it were a standard end mill. A upcut is going to leave a splintery surface on the top, a splintered edge. Well, the chances are more likely you'll get a splintered edge. Nothing is guaranteed. Then if you use a downcut is going to leave a smoother top surface, and an upcut's going to leave a smoother bottom surface. So if you're doing a roughing pass, depending upon what your machining allowance when you do that roughing pass, I usually do at least the bit's diameter on my roughing pass. Then you're removing any material that could catch on that upcut portion and leave you a splintered top surface. So it's, I'll be honest with you. For the first couple of bits I bought, I didn't know that there was upcut and downcut tapered ball nose bits. I discovered that much later, and as it turns out, I had about a 50-50 split. Half of them were upcut, half of them were downcut. I was more concerned with that tip diameter than anything else. So, okay, let's see here. Carl Garrity has a question. Trying to cut out an Aspire clip art scroll number 5035. Did the roughing cut? No problem. Did the finishing cut? No problem. Did the profile cut with tabs and get the error message ungroup or explode objects? Okay. There are no other objects or carving, only on the scroll. Okay. Let me ask you, Carl, were you using the tabs in the profile toolpath or 3D tabs? And where were you putting those 3D tabs? Because you have two different ways of doing it. If you're just using the tabs in the profile toolpath, let me bring this up here, and we'll get something going in Aspire. Share here, and clip art, and you said this was scroll number 5035. Now I'm gonna have to look for that, so give me a let's see, scroll ba. It's not in the flourishes, it would be down here in the scroll. Well, I only have one scroll, that's not it. Let me see here. We have nope. I don't know which one it is. Let's see here. Profile toolpath. 4 tabs, 2 on each side. Okay. Trying to find the scroll here. Is it in the decorative or is it something else? Let's see. I don't. It's in objects and people. Okay. Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. Get up here. This one. Scroll 5035. 50355. Which one? Very bottom of objects. That's the wizard. Is it this one? No, it's not that one. I just had it. There we go. Which one is it? Is it A, B, or C? The middle one. Okay. Down in a dish, you say. All right. So, sorry about that, y'all. We're trying to get it up here. Okay. Uh, go into the modeling tab. Now, mine is only 12 by 12. Okay. So, I'm going to hold down Shift to expand from the center, and I'm going to bring it up about so. All right. And then I'm going to draw a vectory around it, a vector, a boundary vector around it. And there it is. So come out of move and transform mode. And let's select that. And we will carve this. I'll just do a quick finish carve here. I'll use an 1/8 inch to try to make this go as fast as I can. Select, and I'm going to do a boundary offset of an 1/8 inch. And I will use the selected vector. I'm going to use a raster strategy, calculate. I'll preview that while I'm talking here. Okay. Okay, Carl, that might be your issue. That might be your issue right there. If you didn't do the boundary vector, a 2D tab in the profile toolpath isn't going to work for you. Okay. So the problem that you're going to get into is close this, go back to the 2D view. I have that selected profile toolpath, and we'll go the thickness of the material. So Z equals, and I'm going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. Select, and we'll add tabs. I'll edit the tabs. I'll put a tab here, 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 close, and let's go ahead and we'll just call that good. It's just basic. Calculate. It will calculate the toolpath, but the end result is less than desirable. Okay. Now, why you're not getting the group, why it's telling you ungroup or explode the objects, I don't know. Now, it may have something to do with the fact that you didn't use that vector. So let me go ahead and reset the preview. What were you, when you didn't do the boundary vector, were you going by the model boundary or were you going by the material boundary? I'm trying to duplicate what the issue that you're having. So when your 3D finish, did you go by the model boundary, material boundary? What are you machining to? Because that might be the difference. So we'll let that catch up. Model boundary. Okay, so let's do that. And we'll calculate that. And we'll preview that. And did you add a 0 plane in the model at all? Over in the modeling tab down in your component tree, did you add a 0 plane? Okay, and let's go back and look at the profile. something also, I did not project the toolpath onto the 3D model. Okay, no, you did not add a zero plane. Okay. All right, we'll calculate. And I'm still not getting that error. So I don't understand the issue. Now I am using 3D tabs. I don't think that would make any kind of a difference. But when you're doing your profile, if you're not doing that, I don't know why I didn't pick up on that sooner. But I don't need to do that. What profile are you using when you're cutting it out? I mean, if you didn't do this vector boundary, what profile are you using for your profile toolpath? Because I'm not seeing, I'm not seeing any issues at all. This may be one of those cases of save your work, close Aspire, then restart it. Because I mean, I'm trying to duplicate it, but I'm not getting any issues. So, did you use a vector like this as your profile, or did you draw a different vector out here somewhere to use as your profile? Yeah, Russell, a vectory is much like a rectory, but different. Carl is asking, do you have to vector boundary on all clip art? No, you don't have to use a vector boundary at all. I just tend to do that because well, number one, it allows me to, if I use the vector boundary, and in fact, let's go ahead and show this. Let me turn this on and reset preview and come out of the okay, there we go. The 3D toolpath doesn't really show up as well in the 2D view as a standard. Okay, double lines on the profile grouped. That's your issue. That's your issue. Why are you using double lines? Because, and it's telling you to explode or ungroup. It needs, okay. The error you got is telling you to ungroup or explode the objects. That's your issue. You have two vectors grouped. It needs to choose one. It can't use both of them. Okay. Now, if you absolutely, and without seeing the file, I don't know. I'm guessing here. Okay. If you have, let me take this down for a second. If you have, for instance, a rectangle that has an odd shape in it, if you haven't joined that profile so that it's one closed vector, but you have two vectors that are grouped, that's the error you're going to get. It doesn't know what to do because let me bring this back in and I'll turn that off. Let's go back over here to the drawing tab. And I'm going to put both of these on a different layer. Move to layer, new layer, layer 2. And I'm going to turn off the visibility so we don't see them. Okay. Now, if you have drawing tab, Mark, let's do just a polyline here. We go here to there, close, then we go here and here, then over to here, close. We have two separate vectors. All right. Now, if I go to cut this, all right, do a profile toolpath, and I'm cutting on the vector, it's not an issue. If I'm saying cut outside to the right, now watch it not give me this error. All right. The selected vectors contain groups with multiple open contours. This is not a join. All right. Would you like to continue or cancel? I'm going to continue. Okay. Look at the toolpaths. Okay. Look at the toolpaths. Now, my profile toolpath says cut to the outside right. All right. Let me close this. Now, back into the 2D view. If I switch over to solid from wireframe, what we have is, okay, it's cutting both of them. This is cutting to the outside of this vector, and this one's cutting to the inside of this vector. The vector is to the right. The vector here is to the right. Okay? So rather than group these, and it doesn't know what to do when you group them, join them. There's a difference between grouping vectors and joining vectors. Whoops, let me go back over here and shut that off. Come back over here and join these vectors, close it up, boom, close. Now, recalculate my profile. Now I have a square. If I look at the 2D view, now start point is up here, I think. Yes, start point is up here. The vector is to the right. Okay. And it's going to cut to the outside. So you see your profile needs to be one closed vector, not grouped. There's a big difference between grouping vectors and joining vectors. So that's where you're having your issue, is you have two vectors grouped. That doesn't work with a profile because it doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know what you want to do. So, okay, let's back that down just a little bit. I hope that answers that. The issue is you have two open vectors that are grouped. So, Rick May, Mark, do you have those bits? What are you? I don't know what you're referring to, Rick. I know you were talking about tapered ball nose. I was talking about tapered ball nose when you asked that question, but what was? You have a specific question on the tapered ball nose bits. If you're asking about brand, I really don't have any brand loyalty. I buy tools as I need them, and I take input from friends and fellow CNCers on what they use, what they've had good performance with. I've got some cheap imported bits. I've got some expensive bits. And I find that while I get more longevity out of the more expensive bits, but there gets to a point where you're the quality doesn't get any better, but the price still increases, if that makes any sense. The You can just basically give them money. And that's what some people end up doing when they go with certain brand names. And I'm not going to mention any names. But generally speaking, I find that Amana works very well. Tool, believe it or not, works very well. Yoniko works very well. I haven't noticed any difference in cut quality. And I haven't really noticed any longevity difference yet. But I don't use tapered ball noses enough to really wear them out yet. So, okay. I see, Rick, what you're talking about. Ball nose versus tapered ball nose, upcut versus downcut. As far as the bits that I'm using, it just turned out that some of them were ball nose and, some of them were upcut and some of them were downcut. I believe the default, most of them are upcut. This Speed Tool 1/4 inch shank with a tip radius of a 1/4 inch is an upcut. And that's almost a needle point when you look at that puppy. I mean, this is I misspoke. This is a 1/4 millimeter tip radius. So the tip diameter is 1/2 millimeter. And that is almost needle sharp. But it also makes for long machine times, depending upon the size of the project, of course. And that is an upcut. And the way you can tell visually upcut versus downcut is look at the cutting edge on the bit. If the cutting edge is on the top of the spiral, it's an upcut. If it's on the bottom of the spiral, it's a downcut. And yes, there are downcut ball nose and tapered ball nose. Now watch, I'm not going to be able to find one. Now that I said that, this Amana is upcut. Wow. If I'd have known there was going to be a quiz, I'd have got more organized for it. Point cutting roundover, bowl and tray. And of course, I can't find them. I got to get organized. I've got to get better organized. Of course, I can't find the other tapered ball nose. V-bits galore. And by the way, that Speed Tool 1/4 millimeter comes in a 3-pack. They're not expensive. And I haven't even used up the first one yet, so I didn't actually need to spend the money on the 3-pack. Oh, come on. Well, I can't find it. I can't find the other one. But yes, there are upcut versus downcut. And basically, if you look in the description, it will tell you. And also look at the geometry of the bit. So, let's see here. A Manitool 46476K, spectra coated. 1/8 inch radius. I think that's what I've got. $51. Yeah, I think that's what I got. Let me look at that, Brooks. And if you are, no, this is the 46286S. If you're looking for a sponsorship deal, you're on the right track. That's how you do it. Okay, Gary Wolf has a question. What program do you use for your video editing? For the video editing, I use Corel Video Studio. I think I'm on the 2022 version. I used to be hesitant to recommend Corel Video Studio. It's not free. It's roughly $100. There are much better video editors out there that are free. DaVinci Resolve is probably the most famous video editing program. It is free. It's free because they want you to buy their hardware. And DaVinci Resolve has a multitude of plugins and capabilities that mine doesn't have. I'm invested in it simply because years ago, we're talking like 2004, 3, something like that. I bought ULead Video Studio. Years later, ULead was bought out by Corel, and they carried forth with what was going on. I used it for video editing and DVD authoring to make my own DVDs. It was quick, it was easy, and it was inexpensive back in the day. It's still not expensive, comparatively speaking, but the technology has advanced so far and so fast. There is nothing I can do in Corel Video Studio Ultimate, by the way. There's nothing I can do there that can't be done in something free. But at the time when I bought the software, there was no free alternative. So what I've done over the years, and I do it about every, well, let me put it to you this way. I now have the 2022 version. I upgraded in November, last November, from the 2017 version. So that's how often I upgrade. And it's a nominal fee, like $40 or something like that, to upgrade to the most current version. But for what I do, for my style of editing, I don't need, I don't need green screen. I don't need a bunch of the bells and whistles. I don't do flashy transitions. I do simple crossfades and dissolves. Fade in from black, fade out to black, and that's about it. So it does what I need it to do. If I were just starting right now, I would probably go with DaVinci Resolve. And that would be it. But where I'm at right now, I have DaVinci Resolve. I have downloaded it and I've installed it and I played around with it a little bit. But it's just different enough that I find myself going back to Corel because I know it. And I know the process, I know the procedure, and it has, I closed caption all of my videos. It has automatic voice recognition. Yes, I do have to go in and edit it, but I'm not typing out closed captions or waiting on Google or YouTube to do the automatic closed captions. I get the video edited. I tell it to give me a subtitle file. It goes through, does its voice recognition thing, and gives me a subtitle file that I edit in my word processor. Then I go, upload everything to YouTube and then go in and translate it into, I translate it currently into 12 other languages. And I can translate into another language with 5 clicks. So I'd be foolish not to. So if anybody out there listening wants me to translate it into another language that I'm not translating my closed captions or subtitles to, let me know what language you need. I've I've had people ask for Turkish, so I do Turkish. I had people ask for Italian, I do Italian. So it works. Yes, DaVinci. I learned DaVinci Resolve within a day to be good enough. There are tons of tutorials on YouTube. Yes, DaVinci Resolve. Like I said, it's probably the most famous and the most popular. I know a lot of the big YouTubers use it, and a lot of broadcast studios and professional video studios use it because, again, they give away the editing software because they want you to buy their hardware. And we're talking about huge broadcast mixers and all kinds of stuff with 5, 6, up to 7-digit price tags. Yeah, that high end. So they'll give you the software if you'll hoping you'll buy their mixing boards and all the other stuff that I have no way of understanding. So I used to hesitate to recommend Corel Video Studio, mainly because it's not free. There is a cost, and it used to crash a lot. I got in the habit of saving the file, saving the project, every edit I made, because there were times it would just say, yep, show's over, I'm tired, and crash. So I would tell people to avoid it. This newest version that I have, 2022, is it. I won't say it doesn't crash, but I can count on one hand the number of times it has crashed since November when I upgraded. So that was a lot more than you wanted to know about that. But hey, let's see. MCDT. Okay. Just upgraded to Aspire, been studying Vectric and been using Pro for a year. I learned a lot from you. Thank you, sir. Well, thank you. I'm glad to know that what I'm doing is being helpful. We have a couple of new folks to the CNC world here. Nathan Lee, I don't think you're new, but learned a ton from you and recommend you frequently. Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I appreciate that more than you'll ever know. I've made it no secret, and maybe it's the wrong time to talk about this, but what the heck? My goal with this channel is to make you not need me anymore. Um, it it's to, number one, show person who has never done this before that it's not over your head. There's no magic involved. There's no secrets. Um, if you are willing to sit down and take the time and work with the software and learn the software, make mistakes because you will, have successes because you will, but get in and play with it and learn it, you'll get those light bulb moments and go, aha. And that's my goal, is to show you how I do things and show you that while it looks intimidating as heck, it's not over your head. You can do this. 8 years ago, I couldn't spell CNC. I've built 4 and learned to run those 4. That doesn't mean that I know everything, because I don't. I'm not an expert. There are guys in this chat right now. I'm talking to you, Bull, and a few others who can run circles around me in this software and in just CNC operation. There are people that have been doing it their entire lives. I've been a woodworker for over 50 years, but I've only been in CNC for about 8. It's a learning curve. It's a gentle learning curve if you're willing to put in the time. There is no replacement for experience. The only way to get that experience is to do it. And it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. It will happen. Just remember that nothing digital can't be fixed. Save early, save often, and save more than one copy. You know, you just saw me do something here in this. I didn't delete anything. I didn't delete a thing. Everything is still here. Go back over here and I can get into my layers. Layer 2 is turned off. If I turn on layer 2, make it active, I can shut off that other vector. Everything is right here. I can save this file. In fact, I'll do it now. I'll save it to my desktop. Save as desktop. Let's go scroll. Let's just call it scroll. That's good enough. I can save it. Now I can make a change out here. Let's just do this. It makes no sense, but I'll do it anyway. Draw a big circle in the middle of it. Come up here, increment and save. Increment and save. I use it a lot. Watch the title up here. Right now it's scroll. I've made a modification, file, increment and save. The title is now scroll_1. I have not changed the original file. The original file without this big stupid circle is still there. It's still on my desktop. Let's find it. Scroll. There it is right there. The one I just saved, scroll_1, has the big stupid circle. So, increment and save often. That way you don't destroy your original file. Make all your modifications on a copy. Then if worst comes to worst, if I totally hork this up, absolutely completely, I can close it, go back to my original scroll, and I can delete scroll 1. I no longer need it. Get in, make my modifications, do whatever I need to do. Save early, save often, and use the increment and save. It does work. It does help. And it's one of those cases of why the heck haven't I been doing this? Well, maybe you just didn't know it was there. It's fun. But get into it, play with it, and don't be afraid to make mistakes because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to want to pull your hair out. But then that light bulb moment will come on. It'll click in and you'll be like, aha, that's the problem. And yeah, it'll become second nature. So, all right. Wow, an hour and 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. The tiling toolpath, you can see the project still sitting back there. I've been focused on getting this done. I've been consumed by it. It's usable now. It's workable now. I do need to ground it. For some other projects, I'm going to be setting up a Fulton Panel Max clamping system over there on that side. I think I'm going to have to replace this piece of material for the tiling toolpath. Let me get rid of this. You can't see this. I think I'm going to have to replace this piece of material because it warped in one area I wasn't expecting it to, and it cracked in a couple of other areas. So I may just end up go ahead and replace it, cut a new one to length, and then start over. So Bull is screaming, no, 2 hours, 2 hours. Yeah, right. No, that ain't going to happen. I've got other stuff I got to get done. Sorry, Bull. Speaking of Bull, if you are on Facebook, he runs a tidy little Keebler tree over there called The Make. Now, I've put links to it in the past. I'll do it again. I'll put a link to The Make, which is a Facebook group. Get over there and join. There's a lot of extremely talented people over there. There's a lot of very cool projects going on over there. And Bull's just a good guy. He's good people. He does live broadcasts in that group. Some of them take 2 to 3 hours. Usually when he and I get together is when they take 2 to 3 hours, but not always. Just a lot of cool people, a lot of good designers, a lot of help of various disciplines, both in the metal, in the wood, and whatever. In fact, my friend Steve Nealon is right on top of it. There's a link to The Make. I'll put another link down in the description of this video as soon as we're done live here. I'm also putting a link to Stephen Forsai's video on V-carving deep inlays with V-carve and Aspire. And I'll do that as soon as we're done here. Next week, I'm not sure what I'm going to have next week. I may have the lean-to video up. It depends on if I get the outside painted in time. And I have to get that done within the next few weeks. Otherwise, my warranty's void. We'll see, but I'm not going to promise. So it may be another open Q&A. We'll see what happens. Channel members, remember, check the community tab for the link to tomorrow's live stream. We're going to be talking, now that Dwayne is back home, we're going to be talking about mounting a pin on the CNC and getting that entered in the tool database and hopefully putting it to use. And amongst other things, there will be several other things. I'm going to go back through my trials and tribulations with post processors, etc. That's in the unfinished business category. Now, if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, or you want some information on becoming a channel member, just look down there next to the subscribe button. You'll see a button that says join. Click that button. You're not joining yet. A panel will pop up and a video will play that'll tell you all about channel membership. Then you can join from there. So, hope to see y'all channel members tomorrow. Hope to see everybody else next week. And keep cool. It's hot out there. Maybe it's time to step out of the shop and stop making chips for a little while. Hit the pool, hang out with the kids, go fishing. It's Sunday afternoon. Relax. Take it easy. Stay hydrated. See you next week. Y'all take care. And thank you.